Data science is made of three main things: programming, mathematics, and business.
If I were to be, let's see, a CEO or like somebody running a company, the only way a junior would convince me in 2025 for him to be hired is attitude.
That's why it is important again to communicate to stakeholders and to understand how do they measure their success.
Is AI nowadays overrated?
Tomorrow you are going to be my colleague.
Yeah.
And if you are going to introduce a threat in the code or a problem, a bug, we all going to suffer.
Hello and welcome everyone to yet another episode of VUnstaged with yet another very special guest. And like I said previously, we'll not spoil the show, we'll let him introduce himself. But before I get to introduce himself, I want to say that we changed the format a little bit. We're no longer doing wine tasting and guessing. We will have a drink of choice picked by the guest. And in today's show, in today's episode, we have whiskey. So we'll be sipping on some whiskey and we'll have some fun talking some topics. I will not share the topic because we'll let our guest introduce himself. So if you can tell us a little bit about yourself, but more importantly, tell us your name, what do you do for a living? And of course, I ask this everyone, how did you get into tech?
Thank you, first of all, Stephen, for your invitation. I am Păpăluță Vasile. I am a senior data scientist here in Republic of Moldova.
You forgot for a second that you're senior.
Yeah. I was starting to say software engineer because I started to do tech at university and I studied software engineering actually. So yeah. So I'm a senior data scientist in Moldova. I'm working for around 6 years in this field. About how did I get into tech? It's funny because at the beginning I wasn't supposed to. During school, I actually liked biology and chemistry more than informatics. I didn't like Pascal. And
can you imagine people are still learning Pascal at school?
Yeah.
That's so very old school and how do people, especially that fucking blue screen?
Yeah, I agree. Well, the thing was that once we were invited into there was some academy. I think it was Academy Plus Moldova or something like that.
I've been there too.
Yeah, we were invited to the presentation about the program. And
have you entered the program in the end, or?
I entered, by at that moment I lived in Llama and I wasn't able to stay till in late nights.
Yeah, they had this thing called the pool,
piscina.
They drop you in a pool called of water. They have this idea.
Yeah. And they actually invited us and they presented us what is programming, what they do. And I thought this is cool. But I passed the test, but I wasn't living in the city. So I had a time limit, a deadline at which I can stay in the city because there is no bus later.
Yeah.
And I wasn't able to go, but some of my colleagues were able to go. And they showed me once what is C++.
Yeah.
And I thought this is so cool. And I said, I also want to do that. And around in the 10th grade, during the spring, I learned C++.
Yeah.
By myself with YouTube videos. Then I moved to Java. Then I tried HTML. This is the classic path.
The classic. So, the classic for me was more in the 10th grade. I was even doing human profile.
Mm-hmm.
For those who don't know, we have in Moldova we have real and human profile when you go to the high school.
Mm-hmm.
So you can choose if you want to study more languages and shit, or if you want to study more math, science, and that.
Yeah.
So I chose the humanistic profile. That's what it's called.
Yeah.
So I went into languages and all that garbage. So for me, the choice was different because I had to put aside all the bullshit which we were studying and actually pick up a book on computer science. And they were studying HTML. I believe it's 11th grade. And then you progress slowly to like C++ and whatnot.
Algorithms.
Yeah, but typically everyone's like studying Pascal and that fucking blue screen everywhere.
Yeah. Well, right now things are changing because of some programs that are implemented now in school, including Tackle in Every School, which I was part of. We can talk about it later.
Yeah, but you're part of like let's say regionally you're positioned closer to the capital, which is I would say more advantageous. But for those who are farther away from
no, they're implementing these programs and they're adding even AI as a
interesting. So is this like an initiative from the Ministry of the Education?
Yeah, together with Tackle. Yeah, we can talk about. But I was mentoring teachers that are now teaching our students at school in artificial intelligence. So things are changing slowly, but they're changing.
Yeah, I wasn't aware they're pushing that idea because I was still in my mind the educational system, to the most part in Moldova, it's like still old school and still has a lot of catching up to do.
No, there is a lot of progress in the last year. There was. So
I'm glad to hear that actually. Yeah.
Back to my story.
Yeah.
So I was liking to program. I was like, solve manuals of problems as you start usually learn algorithms. But I was still thinking that I'll go into biology.
Yeah.
But during my last year at school, I met some people from Technical University of Moldova. I befriended them and somehow got changed my paths.
So you met some people from the Technical University
while you were
in high school?
Yeah, I was doing a lot of volunteering at Techwell.
Yeah, that's interesting.
That's like a community.
Yeah.
And somehow I switched and decided to go to programming. I went to software engineering at Technical University of Moldova.
Yeah.
But I always wanted to do AI because I was able to code. I like to solve problems, but I wasn't seeing myself like doing web pages for doing mobile applications as the majority of people are doing that time.
Let me give you a scenario in that case. So let's imagine, given all the AI boom, the tools you have today, the knowledge you have today about what's in the AI and what's the state of AI, if you were to go back at the very beginning when the AI boom wasn't there and people were doing AI, but it wasn't really called AI of today. It was more like data science and shit like that.
Yeah.
So how would you sell the idea to a company given all that you know about the AI boom nowadays?
How would I sell?
Because it was like, it's not that often that you could find jobs in the AI market back then, as opposed to now. Now everybody's fucking doing AI.
I remember the time.
As that joke is like, somebody was trying to raise money and he accidentally misspelled API and instead wrote AI. And he got a lot of funding because of that.
Okay. Well, back then there was only 4 people in Moldova who was working at AI. But back to your question, how would I sell AI? I think that I would sell as it was sold to me, because AI was sold to me as a way to do something different and not just code, to make a program really intelligent, not just if analysis and just formulas that a person should write, but the ability to give a machine thinking capacity to decide on her own, on its own, to adapt itself, to change its behavior. And I would sell that as an adventurous business opportunity.
Even, let's say, even nowadays, are you ever in the position where you have to, let's say, explain ROI on a particular use case of AI and adoption of AI?
No, nowadays, no. Nowadays, everyone's an expert, and
nowadays everyone's like embracing it, and this is cool. We're adopting this, and we want to be part of it.
Yeah, but back in the days when even we started with Sigmoid, we had to sell it for IT companies in Moldova to get funding for our events and bootcamps, and even if they were knowing what is like ChatGPT wasn't back then.
No, it was not.
Yeah, it wasn't back then. They were knowing about machine learning, about NLP, CV, but they didn't wanted to do that because until ChatGPT became something very famous, majority of ML and data science projects were very risky
Yeah.
because you in a software engineering you have work to do, you do it, success.
What was the
But-
risky part about it? Like, what exactly made, let's say, businesses stay away from it or not? Let's say, give the credit and let's say credit of trust into that
Uh,
project.
because they could invest 4 months into a project and they couldn't deliver it to a deployment.
So it's about
It's
So-
about getting results.
yeah. So the project would stay in this, let's call it, limbo state of constant research and improvement.
Yeah. It was we call these projects that stay in notebooks because we use like special files when we develop our models. They're called notebooks, and we say that actually back then the majority of projects were staying in notebooks but this was because no one took seriously data.
Yeah.
Uh, few of them took seriously math, and this is worse even now. And many of them just went to the hype.
Can you explain like how important is math for anyone who wants to become an AI specialist / expert / data scientist?
I would say that it is important, but with a catch. AI have different roles, many roles. You can be a machine learning engineer, data scientist, mathematicians, and so on. And if you are a machine learning engineer or an AI engineer that usually integrates different pieces together,
Yeah.
it may be not so important for you. But in the rest of the cases, it's very important.
So you're saying if, for example, I am more of a user of, let's say, well-established tools,
Yeah.
LLMs and whatnot, models which are already trained,
Yeah.
then I don't need AI. I don't need math for that.
Not that much.
But if I were to like be
To
part of the
develop-
innovation
Yeah.
of the cutting edge technologies stuff,
It's a must.
it's a must. Yeah. So in that case, because I was gonna ask for people who hate math but really love what's going on in the AI world, is there a place for them, or they should maybe start taking math more seriously?
They should, but at the same time, there is a place for them. Usually it's called machine learning engineering or AI engineering. When you integrate already existing models, we today we have a lot of models that are already developed and you shouldn't train them or shouldn't.
Yeah, they're
collect
pretty
data
good
from-
actually.
Yeah. And usually are required people in these projects. We require people that are more into software development, but also get some ideas of machine learning and
Yeah.
data science. Usually we call these people machine learning engineers and AI engineers
Yeah.
because they integrate everything together. So because back then and now a little bit, many of data scientists are not that good programmers. So
I can relate to that because
yeah.
every single time I had to like interact with, I've been part of companies where they had like software development teams and they'd have like AI / data teams.
Yeah.
And those teams would have like really strange way of thinking, implementing stuff. And I would assume it has to do with their day-to-day activities.
Yeah,
It's
sure.
like the classical saying about game programmers. Like there's a lot of people who develop really cool and complex games.
Mhm.
Like stuff I would probably not comprehend
Yeah.
so well. But at the same time, if you put them to like develop a complex, I don't know, system / platform for the game, they wouldn't do that good of a job.
Yeah. You're true. So yeah, it was the case for many people, but were beginning with from the statistics field. So they
Yeah.
know statistics. They knew a lot of things related to mathematics, linear algebra, calculus, and so on. But they weren't that good at programming, and this appeared to be an issue because you developed a model in the notebook, as I said, and it stays in the notebook because you don't have the ability to convert into a real application.
You mentioned like interchangeably the terms data science or data scientist and as well as AI expert or ML engineer.
Yeah.
So Can you explain to if you were to explain to a 10-year-old what is a data scientist and what is an AI expert? Like, what's the difference between the two? I guess it has to do to the level of math/technicality in the field, or is it something else?
Everyone has its own definition for all these terms.
Yeah.
I would say my personal terms would be let's first define what is AI. It will be much easier to start.
Yeah.
So I think of AI as a field of study, a research field of study. When you try to give an algorithm or a machine some thinking capacity, or at least try to make it emulate it. So, and it is made of different subfields like reasoning. We all are able to reason. We are able to learn as humans.
Yeah.
Data science is more it was like when you are try to apply this scientific field in the business, because we usually tell that data science is made of three main things: programming, mathematics, and business.
Yeah.
Because if you have only these two first, like programming and mathematics, you have machine learning. But to make data science, you need business analysis, because you need to apply all this knowledge of data analysis on some business problem. But you need to first understand the business.
So what's your, let's say you're an AI/data scientist specialist and you're given a business domain which you have no context on. What's your approach on that? Like, how do you approach data? Because a lot of the times you guys talk about data. It's all about data, what kind of data you have, and is the data good data? Is the data bad data? So what's the difference between good data and shitty data? If you can explain all that.
Usually the better you can understand is with people, communication. So communication is very important in the data science jobs. The second way is do your research by your own. For example, if you don't have access to a person, and sometimes it can be, so you have to do some research.
Let's say in a more detached field of business, how do you approach the problem? Do you collect data, samples of the data, and then you see that there's a similarity between this data and that data, so I can maybe come up with an abstraction for that?
Well, let me maybe try to provide you an step-by-step guide that is more or less general. So usually we start with a problem.
Correct.
If they already have it prepared, we analyze and see what can we get. If they don't have we're somewhere dirty and in a database, whole database or data storage, then we need to ask some data engineers to help us usually to get this data. And then we have to clean it. So we get the data, we clean it.
So you have these ETL pipelines and stuff?
Well, ETL pipelines should be done by data engineers usually.
So
but usually they are just downloading a lot of data for us in some format that we ask usually. And usually it's CSV files if you talk about tabular data, or it can be images, text. So depend on use case.
Yeah.
We clean it, we analyze it, and we try to see that we actually need to always it's a more like a cycle. We need to always verify if we correctly understood the data. And that's why we have very often.
I was wondering at what point in this research process you decide that, okay, we have, let's say, a 90% good job of a data, and from this point on we can say this is a good model, we can now use it in production. What's that stage where you say we've done a great job at filtering the data, we can now use the data for actual prediction, actual whatever the business case is, and we can say this is good, let's roll it out in production and let's see what's going to happen?
First ways I would say that are metrics that we measure accuracy, error, but from a mathematical point of view.
Yeah.
But the second way we measure with business measurement, business KPI, because we can have a model that is 90% accuracy, but is gonna bring to the business minus thousands of dollars.
Yeah, there are models which perform really well in a lab, in a experimental use case, and they perform really poor in production.
Sure. That's why it is important again to communicate to stakeholders and to understand how do they measure their success.
Yeah.
Because if you integrate these two metrics, you're able better to decide what to keep and where to go on from a certain point in the development.
That's a good approach even in software development, I would say. So maybe a more generalistic question. I'm sure you've been hit with like you see all the tech bros online posting and hyping this AI thing. So my question would be, is AI nowadays overrated?
I don't use a lot LLMs, to be honest, because I try to keep myself fresh and to not forget how to code.
Yeah, you bring a very good fucking point because I asked other people, like I ask this constantly, like how important is it, especially for the new generation that we raise, how important it is that they actually learn concepts, they learn how to code, and they don't have this false sense of accomplishment that the AI tools give you.
I was teaching network programming and artificial intelligence fields, and I was giving them laboratories, and they very, 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 very often was using like ChatGPT. I had the rule no ChatGPT in my class. Yeah, because when I was learning this subject, I didn't have it.
Yeah, that's my point. I remember the times when Stack Overflow, GitHub threads, scrolling the fucking thing until AM in the morning, and your eyes would be like pink from that. But the process of finding information on your own and figuring out and coming to conclusion, that sticks. You cannot take that away that simple. Sure. Whereas with AI, I forgot what the fuck I did yesterday because it was so quick. I didn't even care to remember or understand what it gave me back. Sure.
And I had this rule: no ChatGPT, no AI. You try to do it yourself. Better write it for a 7 than make it for a 10 with an AI. Because my idea behind this is that tomorrow you are gonna be my colleague.
Yeah.
And if you are gonna introduce a threat in the code or a problem, a bug, we all gonna suffer from that. So I better say don't use.
Like I always ask people who are pushing this idea of AI assisted development, first of all, I'm asking how important is it for them to learn and know concepts? They say really important because I want them to build a high quality product. But then when I ask them, but what is the motivation for them to do so when you're pushing them to actually ship things faster? Because you as a business person obviously are interested in maximizing profits. You don't give a shit if he knows or not, I don't know, some design patterns, some best practices and whatnot. Nobody gives a shit.
We like biologically can't be at the same speed with the technology. And that's why we have to cheat. People are having to cheat. Even sometimes myself, when like, well, I don't know this field. For example, some new feature need to be added. I don't know how to do that, but I need to ship fast. I ask ChatGPT, I ask Gemini, I ask how to do at least some direction to give myself.
I think I've seen some LinkedIn post once when a guy was like, we should get rid of code reviews. That is no longer important and relevant because you can ask AI to do it. You get to the point of absurdity where everything is done by AI, and there's this group of people believing that we've reached AGI and whatnot. And then you end up with a product which all of a sudden has a lot of problems. And nobody's capable and competent enough to fix them. And how do you solve that? How do you get out of this impasse?
Nowadays that we have LLMs that are equalizers, you're able finally to choose to do what do you want really to do from life. Because back then it was like, oh, I'm going to legal because it's good payment, and we have now a lot of lawyers, to law, And then several years ago, everyone was like, oh, I'm going into being a programmer because it's good pay, good payment, very popular. I'm going to go be a good programmer. And then came LLMs, and it was, and we see every month new benchmarks, new passing laws, or like the law field, or coding tasks and so on. So maybe it's now time for us people maybe to really choose to do what do we want. Like,
so you're
example,
saying
if you like to do, I don't know, if you like sports, why don't focus on going and play football and become the best football? Because now you can't do that.
Do you believe in this futuristic idea of general person income or whatever?
I think that our economical structure as a global population is not ready for that.
If in the future being a software developer is not, let's say, that scarce, meaning it's not that rare, my question is, what will the job of a software engineer look like in the next 5 to 10 years? Will it become more boring, more of a monkey job, or as DHH used to say, crud monkey type of job? Like, what's it going to look like?
I think that depends on how vibe coding will go.
Also on vibe coding, what is your opinion on vibe coding and prompt engineering?
Like, okay, I think that prompt engineering appeared as a field that shouldn't be appear at first. Like, we created ourselves a problem that is bigger than us, and we created it with our own hands. Right now, instead of like me writing some code to do something like training a model or gathering data, doing some useful work,
Yeah,
I need to just to make, please ChatGPT give me that. So
you need to pray to the gods.
yeah, and that's like, why am I doing that? Wasn't it supposed to be that I'm just asking it and it gives what
I mean,
I want?
you could still, I guess, fall back to the idea of, okay, let me do this. And I do this a lot of the times. Like, I'm trying to, okay, I'm too lazy right now. I don't want to think. Just give me the solution. God damn it.
Yeah.
And it's giving me somewhat of a solution. I'm like, fuck it. I don't want this. I'm just going to do it myself. It's quicker, you know? And then I take whatever I did, which somehow works. I give it to him and I tell him specifically, don't fucking change anything. Just make sure it implements this algorithm.
Yeah.
And then you have to restrain it a lot in order for it to not fuck up your solution.
And I think that the technology in this point went wrong a little bit, because it was supposed that I ask you give me what I want.
Yeah.
But now I need to, like, as you said, I need to pray for you to give what I want. And this is not what we expected. At least what wasn't what I expected.
Yeah, but then there's the AI gatekeepers, which are going to come at you and slap you and say, but you need to give it context. How are you supposed to get a specific answer to a generic question?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. But I'm just lazy.
We are at the stage in history where we have all these tools and we have a bunch of tech bros hyping this up. And we have all the herd, the people that are just following the sheep left and right. And we'll reach a point where we will have so much incompetency and so much low quality engineers and software and products that we will go back to really high demand of very skilled people, of which there are very few left.
Yeah. And I think that I think majority of them will broke at the end, and they'll need people like me, people like you, to solve it. So we'll still have jobs. And that's getting back from this question to question that was earlier. I think that maybe in 5-10 years it will be a decline.
Yeah.
But it will be back.
I mean, there are a lot of people that are very bullish on what's going to happen to AI, given all the trends, all the hype and whatnot. So are you bullish on AGI?
AGI is like, we want to make it think like a person, but we don't have a definition of how.
But by definition, wouldn't that mean it becomes stupider?
A good joke, yeah.
Yeah, because that's what people are actually. Yeah. They're flawed and they make a lot of mistakes. Yeah. That's what makes us people.
Yeah. So the question is, with AGI, do we target intelligence of a person or intelligence of a perfect person?
So how do you deal with data privacy when it comes to using AI tools, LLMs and whatnot, as well as how do you stay compliant? Because there's a lot of regulation. There's GDPR, HIPAA, and the most recent one, the EU AI Act.
AI already got information about us even before we opened OpenAI or Gemini and so on.
Yeah.
Because we are doing this for like 20 years, gathering data on us. And I don't want to be a psychotic, like they know everything and so on. No, that's normal because they want to improve their algorithms, and that's okay. But there is a point, there should be a limit, like where this should stop. For example, my personal life. Things that maybe my illnesses, or my there are certain points where you shouldn't break into a person's life.
What is your opinion about AI bias? So how politically, because if you ask different models, they'll be politically correct depending on the scenario. If you ask DeepSeek about certain things about China, it's obviously going to be protective of it. If you ask, for example, I don't know, most AI developed in the US, they'll be more protective of, you know what. So whatever is taboo in the country that is developed. So what is your opinion of bias, and how do you avoid that?
Because of the fact that we are in the Eurozone.
Yeah.
And there is GDPR and, as you said, European AI Act. We companies that are working locally and deploying solutions on the Europe market. So we know that the data shouldn't go out of European. If you're an European company.
Yeah.
So they're obliged to use Mistral. So they can't use ChatGPT as their LLM in their products.
Really?
Yeah, they had to use Mistral because Mistral is a
because it's it's a European product.
But that's especially in products. So you can use to help, but in product, because
you mean in product development, building features and stuff.
Yeah, you, for example, use AI to generate some answer or to analyze some data, or you are obliged in the UA in the Europe to use Mistral.
What about vendor integrations? Let's say I built, I don't know, a REST API or whatever, and I'm using another API which uses AI.
Another API which is...
Yeah. So in that case, I'm not using the AI directly. I'm using their API.
Yeah, but data goes somewhere. It's more about data. It's not about what models do you use.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out where is the subjective.
If you can deploy that API on a server that is somewhere in Europe, I think you can do that.
But you have no... Let's say it's a service which only is provided by an American company. And they use some kind of LLM behind the scenes. So for you to be able to replicate all of that, you'd have to do a lot of manual work.
So you register your company in America.
Yeah, but that's such a stupid solution.
But when you're doing that,
I believe there's some subtle things which are very subjective.
Yeah. I think, but that's what I heard from other people working remote.
And even have to get big enough for you to catch some smoke from the European Commission to get a fine for that.
Yeah, that's just what I heard from my colleagues that are working abroad. So we have to use Mistral.
I'm sure you're following all the hype. You're aware of it. We've discussed it. And some of it is overrated. So my question would be, what are the, let's say, top 3 things that people have a misconception or a false belief on when it comes to AI?
To be honest, is that AI is going for all our jobs.
Is that a misconception?
I think so, but hear me out. They are going to go after the white collar jobs.
The which jobs?
White collar jobs. Programmers, lawyers, but the ones that are intellectual work.
Interesting.
Because it's more easier to build a system that it's poorly programmed than a hardware one.
An AI, unless it's a fucking cool robot, will not be able to do plumbing.
Yeah.
Plumbing will still be relevant.
Yeah.
I even saw an interview with somebody, and he was AI researcher at Google and whatnot. And he was asked, what do you recommend people should focus on to avoid this AI replacing the jobs in the future? And he was like, just become a plumber.
I don't think that nowadays AI is at that level that could create such an effect solely by its own merit.
Have you heard about Devon?
But that one application that was
the hype about that.
But it was I didn't heard about it a lot of time.
There was so much hype.
Disappeared already.
Yeah, it did, but there was so much hype that it's gonna replace you, and look how fast it's picking up GitHub issues and resolving them and whatnot. I was so stupid.
Where it is right now.
Yeah, exactly. With NFTs, Web3s, and all these hype trains.
Yeah. So I don't think that such. I, I I still don't think that it is so massive effect of AI.
So are juniors extinct? What's your advice to anyone who, let's say, finished a boot camp, is self-taught, or finished university?
Maybe it's still some hype and some like hoogie boogie. Let's scare them off and so on. But I don't think that people should be afraid being juniors to apply to jobs because there's so much companies in this world. Like every few hours a new company is rising.
If I were to be, let's see, a CEO or
Yeah.
like somebody running a company, the only way a junior would convince me in 2025 for him to be hired is attitude. So he can play the
Yeah.
card of attitude, like he's willing to fucking eat grass and eat like the fucking ground to do anything to grow. That's card number one. And the other part that plays well into this is they're easily modelable. So you can model that person to be the person you want him to be. You don't have to suffer with seniors. The problem with seniors, they have a lot of habits which you have to deal with, and they can be problematic sometimes. With juniors, you can model them. So that's one card they can play. The other card, of course, is the salary, the rate.
Yeah.
So these are two things I'm looking for if I were to manage a company.
You want to attract in your company people that are not like people that are already in your company.
Yeah, correct. You want
Don't you want
fresh blood.
Yeah, diversity. You want new ideas, and juniors are a way to do that because if you don't integrate continuously new uh, young adults, young people that are wanting to learn, wanting to change something.
Yeah, it reminds me of my younger self when I used to be a junior as well. And the fire that I used to have. I wanted to fucking turn all the tables around, change everything around. Even though I didn't have the time and energy, I would do a lot of overtime just to compensate and show everyone, look, I'm the shit. I can do a lot of these things. And this is the beautiful part about being a junior. I guess this is what's missing. But at the same time, the market is ruthless and it's cruel, and it doesn't tolerate, like, let's be all the way honest. Like, we used to value experience, and now we just don't anymore. In a sense that we just like look at the average HR when they hire people. They don't even care. They ask you how many years in this technology, years in that technology. Like, experience is tied down to years, which is sad. And but that's how it works, you know?
Yeah.
And you come back to the chicken egg problem. You need experience to get a job. You need the job to get experience.
Do we want to hire good juniors or we want to hire any juniors?
I mean, I would argue, given how many seniors are left without a job still, and you see a lot of posts, people desperately looking for, there's even like a desperate label on LinkedIn. People are desperately looking for jobs, seniors with a lot of years. I think you have to be an exceptional fucking junior to stand a chance. That's your only card you can play.
But I think this is a good thing. Because when I was a junior,
I remember the times when companies used to do like internships and they would just fucking hire people left and right. They would hire a bunch of incompetent people, would just sit. And they still to this day sit in the same company doing the same boring thing, and they don't grow. Nowadays, the bar has raised by a lot for juniors. So you have to be an exceptional junior to compete with the seniors, which are in the market nowadays.
Again, I'm just such a person that, well, I see a target, I get it.
Yeah.
I don't ask and search for why does this happen. This is not
you
fair.
plan to win.
And so that's a mentality that every junior should have. I'm here to not even to win, but I'm here to dominate. So something like this. We need to change maybe the mentality.
Can you explain what data drift is? But for dummies. So you have something you've deployed and you have a model which works well. And then after some time, it starts to degrade.
Let's suppose you have like an online store and people are getting used to buy. We are buying stuff from.
Yeah.
Let's say we're buying sportwear. Yeah. And usually people like are buying mostly football balls and some basketballs, maybe some tennis ones.
Yeah.
You get this data, you train this data on, you train a model on this data to predict like what product will the person buy and so on. And your model will be somehow biased into predicting football ball because it's more often, it's so much bigger the chance of correct answer by predicting a football ball. And when you deploy it, something changed. For example, NBA happens, and the popularity of basketball spikes.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to buy a basketball, but they're getting recommendations on the football.
Yeah.
So, and that's on data drift. So it's a change in the pattern of the data that may affect your model. So your model got used to something, but the reality changed a little bit. The trends changed. So the model is starting to underperform, even though it was very good in the training.
Is there a way to prevent this, or at least
Yeah.
to be aware that there might be, let's say, deviations from certain hot paths?
Constantly train your models once in at least half a year, depending on how faster trends in your industry are changing. So you have to retrain the model again, because it's not like you trained it once and you publish it and everything is nice. No, that's not this way. You have to have some pipelines that are gonna retrain your model, that are gonna gather new data. You have also would be nice to have annotators in this loop that would check that your predictions are correct.
Yeah.
But you need maybe to change a little to correct some things for creating a new data set. So you need to have, we call this ML ops.
Are there cases when, let's say, the new version of the model is worse than the previous one?
It especially can be, when you train a model on the data that you labeled using this model. So for example, you train the version A of a model.
Yeah.
Like example, predicting, I don't know. Oh, for example, predicting this like basket, football, or tennis, and so on. So we know that it has a bias for basketball. And during the deployment, you gather some data, you make the model predict on this data, and you use these predictions as for training. So your model will become even worse than it was.
Yeah.
So that's why it's very important to have human envelope.
So like a human validating this is actually the case.
Yeah, that's a must.
Yeah, so there's something I wanted to ask you and we haven't touched. It's more on the technical side. So when it comes to AI, how feasible is it to go cloud versus on-prem? Because cloud can be really expensive if you check out the prices like on Amazon.
Yeah. From like the point of view of a company, cloud may be a better solution if you don't have some specific limitation about security.
Yeah.
Like personal data and things like that. If we remove this limitation, I would say that cloud can be a go on, because first of all, you're using other people's computers. You shouldn't like take care of infrastructure. That's a good thing. And also, that's a lot of power, but you pay only for what you use.
Is that a question of scale though?
Of scale?
Let's
actually,
say
yeah. I think with cloud, it's more easier to get a really powerful T100 graphical card than buying it yourself.
Yeah, but also at the same, like with cloud, there's this curve. Like it's not as cheap if you want to go super low end. And it's very expensive if you scale to like millions and you are really, really big. So there's like a middle ground. So
hybrid van.
As you start, it's slightly more expensive than if you do it yourself. But then as you go into like the middle ground, it's more affordable and you don't have the hustle of managing all that.
Yeah.
But as you progress more and you have more adoption, more users, more everything, then it becomes more and more expensive. And it's easier to actually do it yourself.
Okay, in this case, maybe we can say startups versus big companies, because like for the startup, it's much better to have a cloud that is already presetted. It's hours problems, how do they set it, and so on. But maybe for a big company, it's real better to build their own infrastructure. Actually, that's why how AWS appeared. So Amazon has such a big infrastructure, but it was too much for them, and they decided let's share and build a new product, AWS.
Prices in the cloud for Amazon, at least,
Mhm.
yeah, they can get crazy.
Maybe for software engineering is not so important, like some specific things that are important. For example, for us as data scientists, it's GPU availability, because building a server with, or even a simple PC with a GPU is most costly than the one with just CPU.
Yeah.
And you need to wait for details. There are usually problems with the card stock because of like you remember several years ago everyone was mining, so and good luck buying one.
Yeah, I had a hard time, especially like I remember the times when like 4090 came out
yeah
and I just wanted to order one and it was always out of stock.
yeah
You couldn't even get it from China. It's like I was trying to get it from the US initially and then I said goodbye to that.
Mm.
Then Europe, super overpriced, but still really hard to get a hand on it.
Yeah.
And then I tried China and I'm like, nah, fuck it. I'll just give up. I'll just buy a 3080. I don't care.
I prefer to work on my own PC with, because for this purpose, I like my colleges were using like this Google Colab, which is like a free GPU that you can get from Google and train your models
Yeah.
on the cloud. I didn't like this thing, and I just bought myself a powerful PC with 3080 Ti, and for my projects this was enough.
Yeah.
And I like to do it on my computer because I have full control on it.
Correct.
Like if I have different projects, I just create different environments. And I like this control, which I somehow miss on cloud. Or at least you have a lot you have to really like learn a lot about cloud and how it works to really like feel like a fish in a tank.
So since we touched on the GPUs,
Yeah.
what would be your slap in the face advice for anyone who owns a 5090 at home and they're playing games?
Yeah.
Can they put it to better use?
Well, if they are winning championships at games,
Yeah.
I think they are doing even better than I'm doing.
Yeah, if they're like pro gamers and
yeah,
streaming
pro
and stuff.
gamers and they're really winning. I think they're doing better than I'm doing. But I think we can use it for better things. Like, let's suppose they don't like mathematics, machine learning. They don't want to do that, but they can. I discovered like 2 years ago such things named Stable Diffusion
Yeah.
and LoRa,
Yeah.
and they are like there is open source model. You can.
Isn't Laura from the OpenAI?
It's it's a it's a scientific term actually. It's not like created by OpenAI. No, LoRa,
No, I think it was Sora or something.
Sora.
Yeah.
LoRa
Because
is
I confused it. Like, yeah.
yeah, LoRa is something I don't remember the exact full name, but it's something like low rank adaptation or something like that. It's the thing when you train a smaller version of that model
Yeah.
to add additional things. For example, suppose you want to generate a character.
Yeah.
Let's say I'm an anime fan. Let's say you want to generate Naruto. But the model doesn't know who Naruto is.
Yeah.
You can gather a lot of images of Naruto, describe them textually, and you can train the model with LoRa only for the token Naruto, and you'll add it with LoRa together with this token, and it will generate you the Naruto character.
Interesting.
And you can optimize that. You can there's some science behind it, but it's just an application named Kohaya.
So can people run like a home lab on 5090?
Yeah. They can just install it.
Like Llama or some shit?
Yeah, they can do that, do DeepSeek.
Yeah.
They
You just
do a lot of
install
things.
Llama and I think you can just, since you have this many gigs of like VRAM, you can just download a bunch of models. You cannot load all of them in memory, but you can
varies like things like you can partially upload them. Yeah, okay, there are details if you're like, but if you want to geek in this stuff, you can.
You can even download like big models.
Yeah. For example, as I said, I have a laptop with 338 Ti. It's pretty powerful. I was training a lot of models for my personal projects on it. Then I am also playing games. For example, I'm a fan of League of Legends. Yeah. I also use it for stable diffusion and LoRa training sometimes.
Yeah.
For my personal interests, because I just like to do that. So there is a lot more use cases when just playing.
When training models, I'm not even sure if this applies for training models, but I guess it does. How do you avoid the like model hallucinating? How do you constrain that as much as you can? Because even with like popular LLMs such as ChatGPT, the ones from GPT, Llama and whatnot, they have quite a lot of hallucination even when coding. Like if you take a popular subject like a popular library which is on GitHub, they can easily fucking search the code and actually have the full context. It still hallucinates. It gives you like suggestions on stuff that doesn't exist and things like that.
People that are using user interface like GUI of, for example, the same ChatGPT or Gemini, they don't have access to this parameter, but the ones that are using API have access to a parameter so-called temperature. Temperature is like the higher it is, the higher is the level at which the LLM is imagining things. Like it's like a
creativity parameter.
Yeah, and usually you can just change it up to like very small values.
Yeah,
like for some projects I use.
Can you configure that in ChatGPT too?
In API. Yeah.
In API. Okay.
In API. I'm not sure if you can.
Yeah, I don't think the GUI allows you to.
Yeah, but I don't think.
I think Web UI plus Llama, and you can proxy OpenAI model and stuff.
Yeah, and you have much more control over ChatGPT or our models. But the difference is that you have to pay for the subscription.
Yeah, that's a bum. I mean, there's a lot of free models too. So I'm sure you hear this a lot, and this is like a super popular term. Everyone's like throwing in the internet. MCP. What is MCP? Can you explain what is the problem that it solves and how it appeared?
Okay. Well, I never used it in the real scenario, just read about it. But let's say you want your LLM to be connected to your Google Calendar.
Yeah.
Or you would like to be connected to your Trello board.
Yeah.
And to other things. So, and this MCP is a protocol that allows LLMs to communicate through these external tools. And just simply putting, it's just LLM getting data from a service.
Can't you just do the same thing? For example, if you had Llama, you have some model running, you communicate with Llama through some API calls, and then you react to the output with another API, let's say Google.
Yeah. You know how it is nowadays. Everything should have a fancy name. So.
Yeah. Yes. So the problem it solves is integration, basically.
Yeah.
I've also seen with models like Llama, I believe, they have these things called parameters extraction, where you, for example, ask a prompt, and it knows how to interpret a parameter from the prompt. For example, you say, I don't know, you say something like you invoke a reference of a city or a place, and it knows that that's a city, and then you can access that as a parameter, as a variable in your output. So you can access output.city, and no matter how you refer to the city, no matter how the sentence or the structure of the sentence is formulated, you will always get that output from the input.
I think there is maybe some named entity recognition involved.
Yeah.
So to be able to extract specific.
So I tried it with at least at least with the Llama model from Meta. That's like really powerful. I don't need to think. I don't need to extract the text from, or not even the JSON, because I don't care. Like it gives me back a JSON with some parameters.
Yeah.
And it's always going to have
Ah.
like a city parameter or a
Yeah.
country
Yeah,
parameter.
you mean about I really liked like how Llama is done.
But do you know what's the catch about Llama though?
It is well, I know, but it was like something like I don't. Then it's not correctly stolen. It was like somehow
No, not
released
even
from
that.
Meta or
Not
what?
even that. Let's say you're a big company
Yes.
and you plan on making a lot of money,
Yes.
but also you plan on scaling to a lot of users.
Yep.
Have you read the Llama license?
No.
They have like a weird license where if you have a certain, like if you go, I believe it's 500 million, but I'm not sure. I'm pulling this number out of my ass. But there's a certain number of users. And if you have like a platform or whatever, and you go above that number, then you need to contact Meta basically and have like some kind of deal or whatever.
Oh.
Yeah, there's like a weird
That
license.
changes things.
Yeah, there's like a weird license which businesses need to be careful.
Yeah, but I'm not sure if, for example, I can use Llama directly from Meta, but I also can use it for a provider. So
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. The license is the same.
The question is the license like transported to me too?
Yes, because that's what happens with licensing in software.
Okay.
When you distribute or redistribute, you must comply with the license, and the license typically says that you should copy the license when you like distribute or modify the product and whatnot. So yeah, that's what the license says. And I guess it works really well for small to medium businesses. But if you grow like big enough, let's say I guess they wanted to protect against another social media. So let's say another social media comes on the market, they get big enough and they go above a certain level, a certain threshold of users, then they basically get capped by Meta. Now they're forced to give away their LLM and stick to something else. I think
I always thought about llamas as something but accidentally released and taken by open source community and developed. I don't know why.
So they didn't plan to open source it, you're saying?
Yeah. So I always thought maybe it was a specific like scheme and so on. But I always thought that it was like accidentally open sourced.
I remember the news when like they got open source, everyone went crazy.
Yeah, about it.
Oh, this is Facebook who's doing it, and then from that point, everyone was just starting to release. Like then you got Gemini,
Llama version, Llama index, and so on.
Yeah. So I guess this is good overall for the community, but you need to be really careful with the licenses.
Yeah.
So what is the difference? Because in data science, everything is about data.
Yes.
What is the difference between good data and bad data?
I would say that all data is bad. That's the most like simplest thing you can answer to this question, because we don't ever have enough clean data. Like let's look. Like, do you remember when you were in school and you were doing like physics classes?
Yeah.
And you had something like labs.
Yeah.
When you did like some experiments several times,
and
when you calculated the error, the absolute and relative error.
Yeah.
That tells a lot about data. These types of experiments, because even in real life, we don't have ideal data, and we are going in the search for the data that is really representing the reality. But reality is so messy that it's hard to.
How do you clean up the data then? What's your process?
Models always understand only numbers.
Yeah.
We can now talk to models only because we have things like encoders. But we should convert everything to numbers.
I was always curious, like, how do we go from meaningful human interpreted language like text to vectors? And then those vectors have dimensions, they have lengths, they connect to other vectors and whatnot. And that's how we get the responses from these LLMs.
We have to convert everything to numerical. So if you have some categorical, you need to map out to some numerical. For example, you have gender, and you need to put it as 0 or 1.
Yeah.
If you have like multiple values, you need to convert to a specific dummy variable. It's a little bit complicated, but yeah, dummy variables. Let's just call them that way. If you have like also you would like normal distributions because they're easier to learn by models, but you need to normalize their distributions. Also, you would need to fill the gaps. A lot of data is missing, is not present
Like
actually,
null.
like null values,
Yeah.
non values, and the most complicated thing on that is you don't always understand if you're not speaking to a business analyst is this non really missing data or it has some sense.
Yeah, sometimes a missing is actually expected.
Yeah, because like where you join tables, you do outer join and you can generate non values.
Yeah.
So you need to talk to that, and usually so you have to convert to numerical, fill the gaps. You would like to normalize the data, and also maybe additional things like you would like to select some feature selection. For example, some information is useful for you, some is not. So you need to do some feature selection. Other cases, it can be that you have one class much often is in the data set with another. Like in our sportwear example, football is more often than basketball and tennis. So you would like to equalize their distribution. So you like to balance them out. And usually, and also finally is trying to find a best representation of data. For example, you have a representation, some numbers, a list of numbers that is representing a person. Let's say height, weight, I don't know, age.
Yeah.
But as you can see, but all of these values are in different ranges. For example, 8 may be in meters. It will be 1.75, for example.
Yeah.
But age and weight are in like 70s, 80s, but age, for example, is 20, 50, and so on. They are different ranges. So you'd like to equalize these ranges. So you normalize the data. Because models are better working where the data is in the same range. For example, from 0 to 1.
Yeah.
Yeah. And usually that's the process. If we talk about text data, in this case, we would need encoders.
So is it like a way of converting text to vectors?
Yeah. Yeah. And usually there are a lot of ways to do that. But simply putting, so we try to find for every word a representation as number that is meaningful in such a way that, for example, when you add the vector of a woman and a vector of or when you multiply the vector of a woman and a vector of a king, you get queen. Vector of a queen.
Interesting.
Yeah, something around. It's a simple like explanation, but so you want to find vector representation for words that are meaningful in some way.
I guess I had some interest in like data science and whatnot, but every single time I would just look at numbers. Like, what the fuck is this number mean? And it was always like integers or floating point numbers. I'm like, what the fuck is this supposed to mean? I don't know how to interpret the data. Even when you have like libraries and they have like functions and you have like parameters, input 1, input 2, and then you have some output, which is also a number. Okay, I get a number back. How do I interpret this number? And then when you put the problem into context, like we're trying to solve this problem, like we have, I don't know, we have some like, I don't know, prediction to make, or we have some bias to make. Then you start to figure out, okay, this number above this threshold means this, below this threshold means that, and it starts to make sense a little bit.
But that's why you need business people.
I asked you about MCP,
and
you said it's like a way to plug into like integrations and whatnot. I wanted to ask you if you can maybe explain for the dummies what is RAG and what is, like, if you can tell us a little bit about memory when it comes to all these LLMs, because all of these LLMs that we're using, they're pretty dumb in a way. Like you talk to it and it forgets, or you have like a conversation, and the moment you bring in a new topic, it's
Mhm.
completely gonna
Yeah.
wipe out whatever you talked about previously.
So the thing with memory is, I think that everyone heard about things like this model has this context window
Yeah.
of tokens.
Yeah.
Whatever figure of tokens there is. And what does this mean? This means that model, when you make a request for on a call, it can take up to this number of tokens. A token is the minimal unit of textual representation that has a sense.
Yeah.
It can be a word, it can be a part of a word, it can be a punctuation sign, it can be even one letter sometimes.
Yeah.
Depends on how this like LLM was built and so on. So usually, like when LLM is taking the text, it is tokenized. It
Yeah,
is split in different parts. And these models have a context window of text that they can analyze. And usually nowadays it's so big that you are able to put in entire conversations. And usually when you send, like when you have a conversation with an LLM, it not only sends your last message, but it also sends his last response, when your last response, and so on. So backwards.
Mhm.
So you see, till you get to a stack of what is lower than these token windows. So
Yeah.
when you add more, you just lose. And usually before like adding the last word, the rest of a conversation, the last of the messages are usually summarized.
Yeah.
So you can't get every conversation into this like window, but you can ask at every request the LLM to summarize the last n messages and to put them instead as a last message. So this is the context. So you have a context and the real message.
So this is how it works by default.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like if I send a new message, LLM will take the last messages, but it will not get into the stack. We'll
Yeah.
summarize it and we'll put as a one message.
Yeah.
So it will keep some form of context. The thing that you name memory.
Yeah.
But as we know, summary is not perfect and it will lose some context, some information.
Correct.
Additionally, LLMs can't know everything and can't know everything in a lot of details. And for example, you would like to build an app that uses a chat, but has no specific in some field. Let's say, I don't know, medicine,
Yeah.
for example, some classic example. What can you do? You can teach the model to use this information. Uh, Usually, we build such a thing as RAG, or we call them storage. So you take a bunch of documents. It can be articles. Usually, it's text,
Yeah.
but final product is like a form of text.
Yeah.
You split it in chunks, let's say of 124 tokens, or depending on how much you want.
Mhm.
You split it, and when you use an embedding models, it can be the LLM itself, or it can be other thing, and you convert this chunk into a vector.
Yeah.
And you store the text together with the vector.
Yeah.
And usually we name all this combination document. Yeah. But as a document, you can have not only the text, but you can have like additional things like, a MongoDB database with
Yeah.
additional fields, additional values, and so on. But we talk all this data we call document. And we store this in specific databases called vector storages. We know some examples are Quadrant, ChromaDB, VV8, which
Mhm.
are products optimized for fast search of data based on vectors.
Yeah.
So how do we use this information? So we have a lot of documents. We converted them into vectors. We stored them somewhere. And how we can use this information to leverage our use case? So when you get a new prompt from a user, for example, I would like to know what is, I don't know, arrhythmia, for example. The model is converting this information into a vector, is searching in the database to the top K the most similar vectors,
Mm-hmm.
which are represented by some documents, some textual information. These top key documents are going after the question into the prompt to the ChatGPT or other LLM model.
Mm-hmm.
And LLM has the question and also some theoretically good answers.
So
And it generates
you
the answer.
basically enrich the context
Yeah.
of the
Yeah.
prompt with the mapping of the vector that is closest to your question.
To the query, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. And that's I tried that, I worked with it, and I'm not a very big fan of LLMs, but that things I like. I like to build RAGs.
Yeah, that feels a lot more powerful in a sense that it can be very specific.
And more control.
Yeah.
Very often in working with LLMs and these top new models, you don't have much of a control. I remember when I was training models, like I train my model, I have control over it. So I know I can change this and that.
Yeah, it feels like you get like a standard package.
Yeah.
Whereas with all these plugins and whatnot, you get more control. It's like shooting a camera. You can set it to auto or you can play it yourself. You can mess a lot of things up, but at the same time you have more control.
Yes.
For anyone who's watching or anyone who wants to become like a data scientist, what is your recommendation on how to get started? Do you have any books you'd love them to read?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any courses you recommend? Like what's the, let's say, path? Because there's a lot of people that probably would like to dive deeper more than just LLMs and whatever is marketed today.
University didn't really work for me.
Yeah.
But there are people that really need it.
Yeah, I would say that especially for data science, that academia environment is actually something you would want to have.
Yeah, you would like to have, because it is about research thinking and how it is. Because, like, let's say, let's put it straight. What do you need to start a career? You need knowledge. Yeah, you need some skill to be able to do something. You need some network, and you need some whys. Some like responses. Why do I need that? I say motivation.
Yeah.
So it can be hunger,
homelessness.
Homelessness. Okay. Yeah, but we will get out of why, because everyone has its own why.
Yeah, but really university is at the very minimum. It's 3 years, and it's packed with. Let's be honest, especially the first year, it's packed with a lot of bullshit you don't need.
Yeah. The new years that are coming after I finished university are having linear algebra. All that I learned by myself. But now we are learning that at university.
I mean, even when I finished, like, because I moved from technical to state, we had linear algebra in the first year, I believe.
I didn't have it.
Yeah, which was really cool.
Yeah. And for a data scientist, this is more important than, like, for example, other subjects, but we had later that are more like software based.
Yeah. I guess, that because again, university, I would argue, have to adjust to the market. So if the market, because they're preparing the new generation of engineers.
Yeah.
So if the market asks for, at the time, 2016, 2018, at the time, that was the peak of like it was a huge lack of engineers.
Yes.
So I think it was the right call for them. And now that there's this AI boom, it's the right call for them to make this decision, actually.
I agree.
To make themselves also more attractive, because they're running out of business otherwise. Most companies, even like the biggest ones, Amazon and whatnot, will not ask you if you have a diploma as a software engineer. Yeah,
but if you like research, if you'd like a research position, you
that's
you
my
need
point,
a PhD or master degree.
Yeah, that's my point. Since this is more of an academic field, research.
But in Moldova, we don't do so much research to say that I, as a data scientist working in an IT company, need a PhD.
Speaking of like countries and stuff, in your opinion, what's the leading country when it comes to AI?
China.
Is it China or America?
China.
Do you agree with the following statement? America innovates, Europe regulates, and China replicates.
I think that it was true, like maybe in 90s.
Yeah.
Maybe the good thing is America, that it created an environment where you like invited to to innovate.
Yeah.
But much of the development of what happens in China, we don't know because it's not so open country.
What do you think about China's social score, if you know about that?
Yeah, I know about that. Well, I think that's a good thing, to be honest.
Is it, I guess, overstepping on the liberties of citizens in a way?
No, but look at the case. For example, one night I was going, I think, to fill my bottles with water, with apple and
Yeah.
and I see how some children are peeing in front of a door.
Yeah.
Just peeing, and I'm saying, guys, don't do that here, because it's a public place and that's not good.
Yeah.
But they're bigger than me, for example.
Yeah.
And they could just beat me up.
Correct.
And I would like a system that would punish that.
Technically, you do have a system that punishes that,
But
which
it
is
doesn't
like the
work.
local enforcement and whatever, the police. People mention this idea of freedom of speech, but there's no freedom of speech anywhere. It's very much tied to what you say in what country. So if you mention one thing in the US, it's no longer freedom of speech. If you mention something else in Russia or China, that is no longer freedom of speech. So it depends who you ask, and it depends, I guess, what side of the camp you are on. So I guess for most people, this idea of social score is good because it just keeps things in place and in order.
I can say, but now China only replicates.
Yeah, now it's really good, especially
Really
like
good.
phones, cars.
Yeah.
They got so good at it.
Like Huawei thing when you can just share a file, and like the technology that they develop, the conditions.
I mean, they've been leading the drone industry for years.
And they're cheap.
Like from the economical standpoint, really good.
Yeah.
I am a huge fan.
Yeah.
Other points, maybe not such a huge fan, but that's, I guess, we dive into politics.
We better maybe nowadays compare these three countries, these three regions, to who owns the data. In Europe, the data owner is the user. In America, the data.
In America, companies run the country, basically.
Companies.
Yeah.
Yes. In China, is the state. Is
the
owner of
government.
the data. So it depends on what do you like.
I guess it depends what you like. I am more on the capitalist side of things. But there's obviously bad things that happen on both sides.
There's things to respect in every part.
Correct. Do you have a mentor, a hero, someone you admire, respect, aspire towards?
First of all is my wife. It helped me a lot, understands me, because I can be sometimes very difficult as a person.
Yeah.
And he's patient with me. She's awesome. So thank you, Tina, for everything. And she just accepts me the way I am.
On a scale from 1 to 10, how much AI do you think I used to prepare for this interview?
Judging only by questions, maybe 60-70%.
Interesting. I will not reveal the answer, but that was a good assessment. Before we close everything, since today's drink is whiskey, we have two popular drinks. We have a good old number 7, and we have some Tullamore. So, as I do in every episode of mine, the guest gets to get a small little token of appreciation for coming here. Okay. So you get to pick one of them.
Oh.
Yeah, so you either go with the old number 7 or with the Tullamore. So is it going to be the American or the Irish?
Number 7, what is it?
The Jack Daniels.
Oh.
Yeah, that's...
I'll take Tullamore, I think.
That's a good choice. Yeah. Good choice. And with that, I just wanted to say thank you very much for being here and for all the insights on the AI.
Thank you for your invitation again. It was a pleasant experience.
It was a pleasure.